He said he loved me until he met my sister. Then the comparisons started, the comments, the distance. I let him go quietly and let the truth introduce itself without me. Hi, I'm Eliza, and this story is about how I found out that what you hide about yourself can be just as powerful as what you reveal. The common belief is that who you are is defined by your name, your family, or your outward success. But I learned that people will show you who they truly are when they think you're nothing, without ever needing you to say a word. I'm Eliza, a proof that true value isn't announced, it's recognized, and sometimes, it's only recognized once it's too late. Here's my story, and I hope you learn from it so you don't make the same mistakes, and remember that some truths are best left to introduce themselves. Before we begin, please like, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Let's all be internet friends. He didn't know my last name, and I liked it that way. We met in a bookstore, aisle 12. He was thumbing through a beat-up Murakami. I was pretending to decide between two poetry collections I'd already read. He asked if the one in his hand was any good. I said it had its moments. He laughed. You don't sound convinced. I shrugged. Conviction's overrated. That's how it started. He didn't ask what I did for work. Just said my eyes looked like they belonged in fiction. I told him I worked in nonprofit logistics, left it vague on purpose. Let him fill in the blanks. He liked that I took the train, that I made my own coffee, that my apartment was small but cozy and had books stacked on every available surface. You're real, he told me one night, sitting on the floor of my living room, eating takeout from the container. Not like these curated people I usually meet. I smiled, let him believe it, because he didn't know the green in Eliza Green meant anything. Didn't know my father's name echoed through corporate boardrooms. Didn't know my family's foundation had a seat at every political table worth anything. And that was intentional. Not because I was ashamed, but because I'd grown up watching what happened when people found out. I grew up watching people change when they found out. Boys in school who barely noticed me suddenly remembering my name after a parent-teacher conference where my mom was introduced as Margaret Green. Girls who used to make fun of my hand-me-down jeans suddenly inviting me to birthday parties where the cakes had gold leaf and the goodie bags came with gift cards. College was worse. Once the word got out, people stopped asking what I liked. They asked what I could get them into. I learned quickly, wealth wasn't a trait, it was a trap. And the name Green wasn't just a last name, it was a mirror. One that showed people who they really were. So I started using Eliza Margaret. Just that. No last name, on forms, on resumes, on emails. The rest stayed tucked in a corner of my driver's license and my past. It was easier that way. Cleaner. People treated me, not like access, not like leverage. And when Ryan came along, wide-eyed and warm, full of cheap wine and half-baked opinions on poetry, I thought maybe he was different. He said I was refreshing. He said I felt like real life, and for a while I let myself believe he meant it. Ryan was different, or so I thought. He liked bookstores more than bars, preferred handwritten notes to texts. He called me soft, but in a way that made it sound like a compliment, like softness was rare and precious. He didn't care that my kitchen had mismatched mugs, that I reused glass jars for everything, that my shoes were scuffed, that my couch had a tear in the seam, that I didn't wear makeup unless I felt like it. He said it made me feel real. Said I was the opposite of everyone else he knew. And he never once asked what my parents did. He thought I worked at a logistics firm. He never questioned what project coordinator meant. He didn't flinch when I paid with a chipped debit card or when I said I couldn't do dinner at the new place downtown. He just nodded, kissed my forehead, said, "You're enough." We spent long weekends wrapped around each other in my too-small bed. Walked the city like we were tourists in our own lives. He'd bring over records and cook eggs badly and read to me from books he didn't understand. He made me laugh. He made me think maybe I'd found someone who wanted me, not the name, not the access, not the empire that came with it. Just me until he met my sister. Then I introduced him to my sister, and everything shifted. Same face, different fire. That's how people always described us. Ava Green didn't enter rooms, she owned them. She wore heels that echoed and spoke in a tone that made boardrooms lean in. Her jawline was sharper, her confidence louder, her name heavier. She was the one the press followed, the one my parents groomed, the one who said things like, "We don't shrink for men," before sipping her drink and changing lives with a single signature. And she loved me, fiercely. We'd made a deal a long time ago, protect each other from the vultures, from the climbers, from the ones who saw us as ladders, not people. So when Ryan met her, at a Sunday brunch I didn't want but agreed to anyway, I watched. I watched the flicker in his face when she introduced herself, watched his eyes trail her movements, watched the moment he realized who she was. He played it cool, asked questions like, "Wait, green," with a grin like it was a joke. Ava smiled. Only on paper. He laughed too loud. I sipped my coffee and stayed quiet, because I'd seen that look before. The moment curiosity turns into calculation. He started acting strange, not at first, not in a way most people would notice, but I did. The questions came slow, careful. "So, wait, your sister's that Ava Green. You guys don't talk about your family much, huh? Why didn't you tell me?" I brushed them off. "It's not a big deal." He pushed, "Are you adopted?" I laughed. Thought he was joking. He wasn't. He started referencing things I never told him, asking about our family's home in Sag Harbor, about Green Industries' stock performance, about whether Ava ever mentioned expanding her team. It was like he'd Googled us, and now everything he saw had reshaped the way he looked at me. Suddenly, I wasn't enough. I was the preview, the undercard, the footnote to someone shinier. He started calling me chill, but not in a kind way. Like I was lazy, like I lacked ambition, like I was just something simple he could outgrow. I remember one night, we were walking back to my apartment and he said, "You ever think about doing more? Like stepping it up?" I looked at him, more than what? He didn't answer. He didn't have to, because he'd already started writing a new story and I wasn't in the middle of it anymore. I was barely the prologue. The jokes got mean. Not cruel, not overt, just pointed. "You're kind of the side quest, huh?" he said once, laughing, after Ava left dinner early to take a call from a Fortune 100 CEO. "Like, she's the main story. You're the cozy little distraction." He meant it as a joke. I forced a smile. He didn't notice. "Another time, you and Ava, same parents, right? Or imagine if you had her confidence. You'd be unstoppable." He started calling me low maintenance like it was a warning label. Like loving me was settling. He said he liked that I didn't wear expensive jewelry, that I didn't care about brand names. But now it came with a tilt in his tone, like I lacked taste, not vanity. Like I wasn't aspiring. What he meant was, I wasn't Ava, and he reminded me of that in 1,000 subtle ways. He started making plans without asking, picking restaurants I couldn't pronounce, ordering for me, telling me how Ava would have loved this wine. Once, he actually said, "She'd be dangerous if she wasn't your sister." I remember setting down my fork, stomach tight. That was the first night I didn't walk home with him, just said I had work, watched him go, he didn't look back. And that's when I knew he didn't love me, he loved access. Then he started inviting Ava to our dates. Once could have been coincidence, twice was a pattern. By the third time it was strategy. He said it was fun to have her around, that she balanced the energy, that it was cool how different we were. But I saw the way his eyes lit up when she entered the room. Saw how his posture shifted, how he leaned in more, laughed louder, tried harder. At brunch, he asked her to explain the Green Foundation's investment portfolio. He hung on her words like they were gospel. At dinner, he complimented her lipstick, her blazer, her mind. He touched her shoulder when she joked, refilled her glass without asking. I watched. Quiet, composed, not because I didn't notice, but because I did. And Ava, she played along, kept her responses short, her tone polite, her glances at me sharp and frequent like she was asking, "You seeing this too?" I nodded once. That was all she needed. We didn't talk about it that night, or the next, because sisters don't need commentary. We read the air, we store the receipts. And when the time comes, we show them what the full story actually looks like. He broke up with me in a voice note. Not even a call, not even a proper sentence. Just 37 seconds of weak apologies and self-justified ambition. "Hey, I've been thinking, you're amazing. Seriously. But I feel like we're in different places, you know? Like I want more. I need someone who wants to build with me, who really gets the grind. You're sweet, Eliza, but I don't think you're my future. Play, delete, silence. I didn't cry, not even a little. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the wall like I could project a reason onto it. He thought I'd break, thought I'd beg, thought I'd take it as a wake-up call. What he didn't know, couldn't have known, was that I'd been waiting for this. Not hoping, not wishing, just watching. He'd been so busy trying to measure me against my sister, he never asked how far I could see past him. So I let him go, quietly, cleanly, no text, no reply, just distance. And 5 minutes later, Ava walked into my apartment, phone in hand, fury in her throat, and said, "He sent it to me too." Accidentally. She hit play, we listened. Then we laughed, not because it was funny, but because the ending had just written itself. Ava walked in holding her phone. Hair tied up, no makeup, sweatpants, and still 10 times more powerful than he could ever hope to be. She tossed her bag on the couch, sat next to me on the floor, and hit play again. The voice note crackled through her speaker, his voice all confidence and condescension, like a man mistaking cruelty for clarity. "He really said you're not his future," she muttered, scrolling, and then sent me a playlist an hour later called For Us. I raised an eyebrow. "You opened it." She smirked, only to rename it Try Again. Then I deleted it. We sat there, backs against the couch, knees touching, a bowl of cold grapes between us. It should have hurt more, should have stung, but somehow it didn't. Because we'd seen this kind of man before. They always say the right things until something shinier walks in, and they always underestimate the quiet ones. The ones who don't need to perform, the ones who remember everything. "Let him chase," Ava said, reaching for another grape. "We won't stop him." And we didn't, because the best revenge is patience. He started texting Ava, a lot. At first it was casual memes, articles, half-hearted inside jokes. Then it got bolder. Playlists titled Late Night Energy, links to events with, "Would be fun if you came." A selfie from the gym with the caption, "Trying to keep up with your level." Ava replied politely, then slowly, "Not at all." He took her silence as mystery, mistook her distance for coyness. Didn't realize he wasn't being ignored, he was being studied. He sent her flowers to her office once. Nothing grand, just white tulips and a note that read, "Still thinking about you." She placed them in the lobby, didn't sign for the next bouquet. He tried harder, started using phrases like, "I've never felt this way before and you're different." And she was, just not for him. Every word he sent became another data point. Every attempt, another notch on the rope he was hanging himself with. Meanwhile, I said nothing, because there's no need to speak when someone is busy writing their own ending. He started showing up at her office, with coffee and flowers. In desperation, he tried to dress as charm. Ava let him. She played gracious, shook his hand in front of reception, smiled politely when he leaned in too far, thanked him for the latte, told him she was busy, which she always was, genuinely, but she let him try. Each visit became another thread in the web, another reminder of what he'd thrown away for the illusion of someone more. He dropped buzzwords in conversation like confetti, synergy, scale, expansion. Told her he was finally getting serious about building something of his own, talked about alignment, mentioned future plans and strong partnerships. Ava nodded, always professional, never encouraging, never rude. She never gave him enough to hold on to, but never enough rejection to walk away with dignity either. That was the brilliance of it. Let him think he had a shot. Let him walk into every room thinking the table was set for him. Let him keep mistaking access for affection. Because one day soon, he'd find out the real power doesn't chase. It waits. Eliza focused on her work. While Ryan sent flowers and followed shadows, I was building. Quietly, deliberately. My days weren't made of brunch reservations and flirty text exchanges. They were stacked with calls, spreadsheets, long walks to clear my head, and strategy sessions Ava didn't even know I was leading. Because long before Ryan mistook me for the side quest, I had already chosen to build something of my own, separate from Green Industries, separate from my family name. I partnered with a community venture lab. I led a logistics project that quietly turned into a startup. I secured grants, hired a team, and operated out of a co-op office with concrete walls and too much natural light. The place smelled like ambition. Not desperation. My father knew. Of course he did. But he said nothing. He was waiting for me to decide when I wanted the world to see what I was capable of. And I wasn't in a hurry. I'd never needed to announce myself. I'd learned from men like Ryan that people will tell you who they are if you just give them space. He thought I was standing still, but I was building runway, and soon I'd take off. The Green Foundation Gala was approaching, and Ava had a surprise. She texted me out of the blue one morning, no context, no fluff. "Be ready, you're stepping out of the shadows." I stared at the message for a full minute. We'd never played the spotlight game with each other. She'd always been the face, the voice, the one the cameras gravitated to. I was the one who moved under the radar, shaping things quietly. So I texted back, "What are you planning?" Her reply, "Nothing you haven't earned." I didn't ask again. I dusted off a dress I hadn't worn in years, pulled out the heels I kept in a garment bag at the back of my closet, just in case. The night of the gala, I let a stylist do my hair. Let a friend lend me jewelry. Just enough shine, just enough signal. When I arrived, the venue was glowing. Crystal lights, velvet ropes. The kind of place that made photographers fight for angles and CEOs straighten their ties twice. And right near the entrance, I saw him. Ryan, early, alone, overdressed, looking for Ava, looking for cameras, looking for validation in the wrong damn room. I didn't wave. I just walked past him, because his moment was coming. And he didn't even know it. Ryan got an invite too. Of course he did. Ava made sure of it personally. She forwarded it with a "hope to see you there" and a winking emoji. Just enough warmth to keep him on the hook, just enough distance to keep him guessing. And Ryan, he took the bait. He showed up 45 minutes early, wearing a suit that tried too hard and confidence that didn't fit anymore. Hair slicked, shoes too shiny, a gift bag in one hand, a rehearsed smirk in the other. He made rounds near the donor tables, introducing himself like someone who mattered. Asked one of the interns if Ava had arrived yet. Told a woman from Forbes that he was exploring VC circles. Tried to name-drop her last name like it gave him credibility. It didn't, and still he believed he was in. That tonight was his moment. That Ava was the crown. That proximity was the win. He didn't notice me yet, didn't even glance twice. To him, I was still the girl with the quiet apartment and the thrifted heels, the one he'd outgrown, and that's exactly what we wanted. Because when the spotlight turned, it wouldn't be looking for him. Ava took the stage, not with fanfare, not with theatrics, just presence, the kind that silences a room without trying. She stood at the center of the platform in an off-shoulder black gown, hair swept up, posture carved from ambition. Cameras clicked, phones lifted. The room tilted toward her like gravity. "Thank you all for being here," she began, calm and crisp. "Tonight isn't about money, it's about impact, about legacy, and about the people who will carry this mission forward." Ryan leaned forward 2 rows from the stage, chin high, elbows on knees, waiting, expecting. Ava smiled, slow, deliberate. "And before we begin," she said, glancing toward the side of the room, "I'd like to introduce someone very special." Ryan sat straighter. This was it. He thought he was the surprise. Ava turned toward the curtain and said clearly, confidently, "Please welcome the next CEO of Green Industries, Eliza Margaret Green." The room erupted, gasps, murmurs, applause like a tide crashing all at once. I stepped out slowly. No nerves, no second thoughts, just truth. I passed him on my way to the stage. He didn't move, didn't blink, didn't know where to look. And for once, he didn't have anything clever to say. She called my name. Not Eliza, not my sister, not the quiet one, not the girl who let him go. She called me by my full name, Eliza Margaret Green, and the weight of it landed like thunder. I walked across the stage slowly, heels silent on the polished wood, the lights catching on the edges of my dress and the edge of the story he never bothered to understand. I didn't look for him. I didn't need to. But I heard it, the sharp inhale, the disbelief breaking in his chest like glass underfoot. Ryan had risen from his seat, just barely, not standing, not sitting, caught between pride and panic. I took the mic from Ava, nodded to the room, and said, "Thank you, everyone. I'm honored to carry this work forward, but most of all, I'm grateful to have done it my way. Quietly, intentionally, without needing to announce a single thing, Until now. A beat of silence, then applause. I saw Ryan finally sit back down, slack-jawed, small, the kind of small that no suit could cover. The kind of small that isn't about size, it's about exposure. And he'd been exposed. He stood, tried to speak. Wait, I didn't know. The words tumbled out like he thought they mattered. Like confusion bought him grace. Like not knowing who I was somehow excused what he did when he thought I was no one. People turned, some out of curiosity, some out of pity, none out of respect. He took a step forward, one hand raised, not quite a wave, not quite an apology. Just a desperate reach toward a moment that had already moved past him. I didn't stop walking, didn't glance in his direction. I smiled, kept my head high. Let the weight of his regret hang in the air like perfume, cloying, thick, and entirely his. Ava didn't even look at him. She turned to the crowd, gestured to the side of the ballroom, and said, "Dinner will be served shortly. Let's celebrate something earned, not assumed." The band picked up again. The lights dimmed back to gold. And Ryan, he just stood there, stuck in the echo of his own misjudgment. No hand to hold, no face to charm, no exit that didn't taste like shame. The press ate it up. Flashes sparked like fireworks the moment I stepped off stage. Headlines were already forming in the minds of bloggers and business writers in the room. The other Green sister steps into power. Eliza Margaret Green breaks the silence and the ceiling. Quiet grace, loud legacy. Ava posed beside me for exactly 4 photos, then leaned in and whispered, "That's enough. Let them fill in the rest." I nodded. We slipped through the back corridor, past the caterers and assistants and endless clatter of post-announcement celebration. I didn't need the congratulations, I didn't want the spotlight. I wanted what I always wanted, peace. So I left, quietly, deliberately, back to my apartment, still small, still soft, still mine. I took off the heels, hung up the dress, lit a candle that smelled like cedar and citrus, opened a novel I'd been too busy to read, sat cross-legged on the couch in silence, and I smiled, because I didn't need to bask in the moment. The moment was never the goal. It was just the reveal, and now everything else was mine to build. Ryan texted, then called, then emailed, 3 platforms, 12 messages, 1 growing panic. "You should have told me. I didn't mean to hurt you. You blindsided me. We could have built something. I was tricked. You were playing a game." No, I wasn't playing, I was watching. He spun every message like he was the victim, like I'd robbed him of something he was entitled to, like my silence was more deceptive than his choices. He thought this was about revenge. It wasn't. He thought the power was in the name. It wasn't. He thought the tragedy was that he picked the wrong sister. It wasn't that either. The tragedy was simple. He had the truth in front of him, and he traded it for the illusion of more. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Every unopened message became a mirror he couldn't escape. And he'd finally been forced to see himself, not as a visionary, not as a victim, but as exactly what he was, optional. She was never the broke one, just the one who wanted real love. That's what Ava said the next morning as we walked side by side, coffee in hand, sunlight catching the edges of buildings we used to dream in front of. No one around us knew who we were. And that was the best part. No cameras, no followers, no men mistaking presence for permission, just 2 women, sisters, whole, unbothered, untouchable. "Do you think he gets it now?" Ava asked, sipping her drink. I smiled. Doesn't matter. Because this was never about him. It was about the girl who stayed quiet when it would have been easier to scream. The girl who didn't flinch when he made her feel small. The one who built in silence, waited without bitterness, and let the truth walk in dressed better than vengeance ever could. He wanted a woman who looked like power. What he had was a woman who was it. And he didn't recognize her until it was far too late. We turned the corner, boots hitting pavement in sync. The city opened up ahead of us. And this time we weren't shrinking. We were just getting started. Thank you for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. I love you all.